In this episode, we're going to be working over here in Sugar Alley installing the TAG Central of Georgia Interchange Spur. So let's get inside. Howdy train fans, welcome back to the Chattanooga Southern Railroad. So I have decided the next project on my list is to get this interchange spur installed over here in Sugar Alley. If you remember, I put a video out mentioning I was looking at doing this. I got some great comments from you all on what to do here, whether you like the idea or not. Most of you really like the idea of putting this spur in to make the interchange work a little bit more cleanly. A couple of you had suggested removing this switchback spur and having this curve on up and around that way. Although I think that's a great idea in general, that would give me a little more trackage there. I really only need room for 1 or 2 cars of 50 foot or less length, about 100 feet total, and that's what this gives me here. I also like the idea of having this switchback track. Because I work for DuPont, I've seen a lot of sites where the trackage kind of goes all over the place on those plant sites, so it kind of fits true to form for DuPont plant sites to have kind of a crazy switchback and something that stops abruptly like that. And that track there is actually the fuel track, so a tank car comes in and gets set there for quite a bit of time to be used as a fuel oil service. So I'm going to leave it in place, but I'm going to walk you through the installation of this spur. So let's get going. So let me give you kind of a high-level overview of what we're trying to do here. This is my Sugar Alley section of the layout. This is the Sugar Alley yard, which is a 3-track yard. This is the main line. This is the southern main line, heading south down towards Lookout Mountain. This track here is my TAG, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia / Central of Georgia interchange track. It's not a main line. It's just a track that is used by those 2 railroads to come in and drop cars here to interchange with the Chattanooga Southern Railroad. The challenge I had was I could either bring those cars in and have them come into the yard and drop stuff in the yard, which really, if this yard is packed, that could be really troublesome. They also have to cross the main here and get permission from the dispatcher to do that. So my original thought was, hey, we'll just have them drop the cars on this siding or this runaround track, but that just kind of blocks all the operations capability. So then I said to myself, okay, you know what? I have a spare number 4. Why not put that here like this, have it a stub track come off, and then put a stub track there that's long enough to handle 2 50-foot cars, a 40 and a 60. Don't think it's going to be long enough to handle and clear for 2 60s, but we might be able to bring 1 60 in without any problem. So I think after all that, this is what I'm going to do. So I've got a couple challenges here. I've already soldered feeders onto this track, which are unfortunately being hindered by where the new turnout's going to be. So one of the things I'm going to try to do is, if I can, remove this piece of track, because those feeders are not connected below the layout. What I'm going to do is try to salvage this piece of track and then just slide it with the feeders down and reattach it once I get this turnout in place, so I don't have to go back and resolder those. We'll see. If I did a really good job with that soldering, which was later in my soldering process here, so I got better as I moved to this end of the layout. Hopefully those will stay in place. So let's get going. So one of the things I'm going to do to make the video of this a little easier for me and give you kind of a bird's eye view of what I'm doing, I'm going to utilize this clamping arm that I bought off of Amazon, and I have to give credit to Railfan Man. He bought one of these and showed it on one of his videos, and I liked it so much that I went out and grabbed one, and as you can see, it works perfectly with my light valence here. So I can mount my camera in here. I can turn this any which way, get a view for coming and going and overhead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my iPhone in there to do the filming, and you'll get a top-down view of exactly what I'm working on. All right, so hopefully this will work really, really well. So as I mentioned, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cut in this number 4 here. As you can see, the alignment is going to change a little bit, which is actually a benefit to me, because I do have a road now that's coming up through here for the Coca-Cola bottling plant and to access the DuPont plant over here. So we'll realign this accordingly once I get this in. There might be a little bit of a kink in it once I'm done, but hey, for old industrial tracks, if you've ever walked them, you'll see that things aren't like designed for high-speed trains. So I think this is where I'm going to want to put this. But first, what I got to do is I got to get this piece of track out of here. I have a lot of spikes in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these replacement ties out like that. I'll just set those aside there. I'm going to do the other thing the same at the other end, which you can't see that, I don't think. It's off camera there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push these rail joiners past the gap like that, and that will allow me to pull this up. I also want to do this on the other side as well. And I think, let's see, actually I'm going to push these. You can't see this on screen, I apologize. I'm going to push these. Actually, I have to, sorry, I'm kind of struggling off camera here with this one rail joiner. It is tight as it can be. So there we go. I think we got it. All right. I use track spikes to spike my track down as opposed to the nails in the center. So what makes this really nice is that once I get this started, one of the things I can do is I can kind of do this wiggly unzipping of it like this. And if all goes really, 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 really well here, I'll be able to pull this out and pull these up. Sorry. And the feeders will come with it, and unfortunately we lost one. Oh well, we gave it a shot. I can go back and solder that again. All right, so now I want to pull these spikes back out. Some of them are in there. I'm going to use my, apparently my needle nose pliers have gotten magnetized. So we'll do that and that. Pull all these out. It's one of the reasons I like using Hohem, because I can spike the track in. And, you know, if you've got to make a change, if you glued the track down, and I know a lot of people use silicone, that makes it easier, and I get that, but I'm just a old Hohem guy. So, all right, let's see if we can't figure out where this is going to go. And what I'm going to do is, all I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of getting the general position of this. And the reason I'm doing this is because I need to figure out where I'm going to drill that hole for that switch machine. And I think that's looking pretty good right about there. It's pretty much on the same track line, and I don't have any major gaps over here. So we're looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark where this switch point is, either side like that, right? And since I'm on the center line of this, I know that the center of that hole should be on the center line, the crossing point of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this back out like that. And I'm going to go right there like that. So what I need to do is drill a hole, big old monster hole right there. All right, so anytime I drill a hole for my switch machines, I use 2 bits. I use a little 1/8 inch diameter like this as a pilot bit. It also serves as a place to drill for my frog connections. And then also I turn around then use, I think this is a 3/8 inch bit. Can't read that very easily, but it looks like a 3/8 inch. I will then follow that pilot hole up with this, and then I'll have my hole for my switch machine. All right, as you can see, I've got my pilot hole drilled right there with the 1/8 inch bit, and now I'm going to go ahead and drill the full bore. Well, as you can see, that big bit makes a big hole and a big mess, so we're going to clear that away. The Hohem tends to tear as opposed to actually drill out per se, so you get a lot of this fraying like this. And one of the things I like to do is just take a X-Acto blade and kind of work my way, making sure that it's sharp, kind of work my way around that like this, cut as much of that off, and then I will just use my finger. And then what I can come with is my needle nose pliers and just kind of waller it out. And what that does, out before I stab myself, and you hear some not so nice words, just use that and you can see it kind of cleans that hole up. So we want to get debris out of the way. I'll vacuum that up later like that. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and put our turnout back in place. Take a look at it, see where we are. Looks like that hole's in a nice spot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple track nails to set this in place. Well, unfortunately, I've lost my collection of track nails. I just spent 20 minutes looking for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some track spikes, some larger diameter, beefier ones, and just use these to hold this turnout in place. So you can see what I mean by beefy there compared to a more fine one like that. These are the ones I tend to like to use for putting my track in because they kind of disappear. So I'm going to put one of these in this hole like so. Grab another one of these beefy ones back over here. Yeah, you can kind of see that on screen. Put it in my pliers, and there we go. All right, so now we've got this set in place. Now we have to cut a piece of track to go from here, which is off camera, to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide you down to the right to do that. All right, what I'm doing now is I'm going to try to fit this piece in here. You'll see that I cut the other lead off. I'm just going to resolder those feeders here once this piece of track is in. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect these in like that. I'll drive that rail home, maybe if it'll go. Cock it around, and what I'm looking for is, you know, where do these rails end and these rails need to be cut. And so it's looking like, if I cock this over just a little bit, I need to be somewhere in this bay. So I'm going to remove these 3 ties here to make that happen. So what I usually like to do is, if I know I'm going to remove a tie, I'm going to go ahead and break off one of those like that. And that way I know I'm counting that one plus 2 back to make that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So what I like to do is take my razor knife or my X-Acto knife. You hear it click. I'm going to do one here. I'm going to do that 1, 2, 3 ties over. Click it there. And now I should be able to pop those right on off. And that gets me some good exposure there to be able to mark these. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in like this, cock that around, and now what I can see, and I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna move a little bit further because of the shadow. I can see now where the turnout rails end and it gives me access to be able to mark across this. So I'm gonna take my X-Acto blade again. I'm gonna line up with where the end of these ties are, and I'm doing this visually. I'm gonna go just a hair longer, and I just like to score the top of the rail like that. Hope you can see that. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Oops, it's coming apart there. I'm gonna do the same thing for this rail as well. Just kind of saw back and forth. And you really, when you do this, you want to kind of go across the head so you can see the whole thing. Okay. Now what I can do is I can pull this back out, get my rail nippers, as you can see here, so that it has a flush face on one side and an angled face on the other. Okay. I want to make sure that the flush face is to the side I want to keep. I want to keep this piece of track. So what I'm going to be looking for is that gap. And what I like to do is rest the top cutter on the top of the rail and slide it over till I feel it hit that notch like that, and then I cut it. And you can see there that this is the buggered end, that's the straight end. I'm going to turn this around, flip these over, right, because again I want the flat side to the good side of the track. Slide it down till it falls into that gap. Boom. There I am. Now I can set this piece aside, use that for a rainy day, come back in here, put this in, and if I spin this around, it looks like I am in really good shape. Might be a little tight. Ooh, may not be. It might be a little loose there. Let's see what happened there. What happened there? Oh, it wasn't in the right place. All right, so it looks to me like this one's just a hair long. You see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one back out. Oops, if I can get it out and not destroy everything. So what I want to do is I want to take the ever so slight snip off the end of that, just like that. And now I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to do this, and then I'm trying to get in those rail joiners, but it's, oops, wow, talking about a rail joiner challenge today. All right, push that in, push that, oops, around. Looks like I'm in good shape there. So now I just need to find a pair of rail joiners. So let me see what I can dig up for that. All right, so dug out some rail joiners. I'm going to put them on the turnout side here. And the reason I'm doing this side is because I've got a lot more rail here to the first tie, and it'll make it easier to be able to slide these further back to clear. Yeah, I might have to remove this. Do this, me and my big fingers. There we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my needle nose. I'm going to slide those all the way back to where they clear. And now I'm going to put this back on. Just like that. Bring this around. Kind of get it into place. And now that it's in place, you get to watch me try to be ambidextrous here with my pliers. And that's not going to work, so I'm going to do it the hard way. There we go. There we go. Close that gap up a little bit. And there we go. And now you can see that piece is in place. And we go grab some new spikes. All right, so I got some new track spikes out. I've also identified some ties to go into this gap, some ties to go into this gap, and I think I'm ready to go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start spiking this down. And I usually like to start over with this turnout. Drive that spike home. Do one on the opposite side of the tie here. And the reason I do this is that it helps to bind that tie from sliding one way or the other. Now this section of track isn't very long, so I'm going to go ahead and put a set of spikes in the middle here, near where I'm probably going to set my feeders. Again, I will straddle the tie or bind the tie with this like that. Then I'll come down here to the end, get my big fat finger out of the way, get my ties straight where I want them, drop that one in, get one more, again binding the tie. That went in as a little bit more of an angle than I was expecting. Drop that down. Okay, now I need to be able to put those in there, but I've still got the nubs on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, really sharp, makes this a lot easier, and just kind of scrape those off. When I go to paint the track, it'll make things a lot easier. So I just kind of slice those off the top. I'm just taking the molded on spikes and plates off, make it easier to slide under. And since I'm in a kind of a curve this way, this tie spacing is a little bit different than this one because of the solid piece going across here, and these are flexible. So I'm going to come in from this side, and sometimes you have to lift up on that rail a little bit, get these to go under. Actually, that was way too much. Well, how do you like that for a blooper reel? Jeez. Okay, well, let's try that again, shall we? Nothing like a live blooper, huh? Maybe what we ought to do is go ahead before we anchor that sucker down completely. Maybe go ahead and loosen it up a little bit. Oh, you know what happened? I didn't get that tie completely cleaned. Haha, that's why. That's why it was popped up. Look how much easier that went in. All right, get that in place like that. Get this tie now bound like that. Put this spike back in, driving it home. All right, and we're looking pretty good there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my cleaning block, clean that off because I see some tarnishing on that old piece of track there. I'm going to do that like that, and that's good. All right, let's keep moving down here to this turnout. Actually, just dawned on me I didn't put these pieces in, so I'm going to slide those in just like that. That was already cut for this position originally, so there we go. All right, here we are down at the other end of the turnout, and I don't know if you can see that in the screen, but for whatever reason, the Atlas, particularly the Atlas number 4 turnouts, when they build them, they actually have a kind of a curve in them through the points, from the points start to the frog. I don't know if you can see that very well. And so what I like to do is, in order to kind of maybe possibly straighten that out a little bit, I'll get a track spike like this. I'll pull this over and down just a little. Now again, this is industrial track, so I'm not caring if it looks beautiful or not. All I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't have any major derailments. And so I'll put a, oops, came at that from the other side, so I'm going to put a pretty big spike there, like that, to hold that in place. And now that kind of straightened that up a little bit. So one of the other things we got to do here is we got to get some ties in here. So filler ties. So I'm going to go ahead and off to the side here. See if I can get all the nubs off this time. Looks good. Finger will tell you, even if you can't see it. All right. So that looks good. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to get that down in there. Well, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to pull this spike here, set it over, magnetized, pull this spike here, and I'm actually going to pull the nail out of this one there. And this is going to allow me to lift this up. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm making sure that these ties clear the ties that are over on this side here when I get this in. I had to snip it on this side, and I think that'll work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up a little bit, kind of use my nose pliers to kind of wiggle this on across. Sorry if my hand's in the way. And then when it drops down like that, then I'm going to take my nail, track nail, put that back in place there. Put that one in there for that turnout, and then put this one back in here for that turnout. All right, so now we are good all the way through. We now have the runaround track back in place with the turnout, hole drilled for the switch machine itself, so we're good there. I have not drilled the holes for the power to the frog here. You can see that little tang right there. I need to drill a hole either side of it to make that work. And I haven't done my power feeders holes over here, but let's keep on going down with the spur. All right, so I went and got a couple new rail joiners, so I'm gonna go ahead and put those on the turnout here. If I can get my fingers to function properly. And since this is a dead end track, I don't need to worry about sliding these joiners too far onto here. I can get my, come on, there we go. Needs a little persuasion. So we'll go about halfway. There we go. All right, and then we can bring this up. Oops, and I did not get that on either of those. All right, well, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this because I have to put filler ties in anyway. So I'm going to pull that off like that. Here's that one. Maybe. Well, I am rail joiner challenge today for some reason. There's one. There's two. Went too far with one, not far enough with the other. But we're gonna have to do some finagling. Sorry if my hands are in the way here. There we go. And so now I have to figure out what the alignment's going to be on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I think I have the track at the right. Do I have it at the right length? I'm looking at that now. It's kind of a little long on this end. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut about a little over an inch off of this on this end. Oops, don't want to leave the rail behind. So I don't know if you can see those nicks on that or not, but what I want to do is I want to cut roughly right around in here. And this doesn't have to be pretty because this is the spur like that. So I'll just cut that piece off, chuck it away, get myself started back on here. And yeah, that's kind of looking more like what I was expecting it to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and spike the far end here, and I might be just off camera, and I apologize for that. And again, I'm using that same method of binding the tie and the rail from either side. That'll keep it in place while I'll tell you what, I'm struggling a bit today. And let's see, we'll come back here a little bit. I think for the alignment, I'm going to do something along that lines, like that. So I'm going to put a spike in here. Get that in place. Come back, grab another spike. Again, bind that tie. Sorry if my big paws are in the way. And then what I want to do is I'm just going to work my way back here like this. So again, I'm going to do this like this. And another one here on the other side of this tie to kind of hold that slight curve in place there. And now I'm going to pull this down a little bit like so. I don't want this curve, this S curve, to be too pronounced. Put this one in here, like so. There. And now I'm going to bind this last tie here. Make sure I got it exactly where I want it. I don't know about you guys as model railroaders, but I talk to myself quite a bit when I'm working on my train layout, even if I wasn't on camera right now. All right, so now we've got that in place. I don't know how that's looking for you, but it looks pretty good there. That'll allow me to have my road come down through here. I'm actually going to have it sweep a little bit and then come across here. So now that we have that, now we need to put a few ties back in here. So it looks like it's going to take about 4. So I'm going to clip that set off, thread it under here like so. Let's see, I can move that down just a smidge, like that. That's good. And we're going to take this, just going to clip that nub off so we don't need it. Get my X-Acto blade back out, or X-Acto knife, I should say. Cut those nubbins off. And we will thread that one under there. That one's really loose compared to the other one. But there we go. And then what I'm going to do is take a couple more spikes. Bind this tie. Here, make sure that this stays exactly where I want it. Like so. Haha. Go right there. That's what I was looking for. Just like that. And now, put my old spikes back. And put my old ties back in the box, because I don't need those anymore. Get my tools out of the way. And what I'm going to do now is kind of just show you the whole thing here. All right, a couple more things to finish this fix up. I've got to drill some holes here for my feeder, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Got those done, and then I also need to drill the hole for the frog feed. All right, got that done. Now, last thing I'm going to do, I'll move you down here. I'm going to drill my 2 feeders for the siding itself. So I'm going to come in a little bit from the end. There's one. There's 2. All right, so time for a little bit of cleanup. I've got one of these little handheld vacuums. I got this as kind of an award through work. I think Home Depot and Lowe's sell something similar to this. They're like 20 or 30 bucks. I highly recommend you get one of these because it also comes with some tips with some brushes and some things on the end, and it works really well. It is rechargeable. So I'm going to go ahead and use it to clean all this stuff up and then bring you back. All right, this is a pretty good view of the whole thing. So what I need to do now that I've got everything done is I need to come in with my cleaning block, and I'm gonna clean up all these ties, this turnout, which is brand new. Clean all the way down across here, this turnout, like so. While I'm here, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. There we go. Voila! One interchange spur for the tag and Central Georgia. Well, there you have it. The installation of the Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia / Central Georgia interchange spur. As you can see, I've got a car on here testing it. It's working perfectly fine. Back through there. I can hook up the 2 cars without any problem. Running nice and smooth. I don't have my feeders installed yet. A little too long for a 50 and a 60, but definitely 2 40-foots. A 50 maybe got a 40 if it doesn't have the cushion under frame under it. Probably only going to use wheel chocks back here as opposed to a full-size bumper, so that'll look good. And I still get to keep the fueling track back here. So, well, that was a fun little project. I'll get the feeders installed because I'm still working on wiring. Who isn't on their model railroad? Hey, thanks for joining me. Thank you to my new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys coming on board the crazy train here. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Comments, please put them down in that comment section. Love hearing from you, and I respond to just about everything that you put down there, one way or the other. It may not be right away, but I'll get to you. With that, hope you guys are enjoying your trains, and we'll see you all on down the tracks. Bye. Hey there, did you like that video? Well, check out some of these others on the screen. Don't worry, I'll wait. Enjoy.